Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is for you people. Welcome to this week's One People Show. My name's Lisa Harrison, and of course we have Bob Wright with us.
Hello Lisa. Hello everyone in the chat room. Glad to be here. Got lots to discuss, lots of things happening.
Yes, we do. How's your week been? Because I know energetically it's been a huge week, which we'll probably go into a lot more tomorrow on tomorrow's show. And for those of you who can hear the difference in my voice, I'm not underwater. I've been sick for the last, since Thursday. This process of clearing, transforming, it's very physical.
If you had asked me yesterday, I would have said I would felt like I was on top of the world. Today, goodness. Couldn't move all day. Felt like there's a ton of bricks on top of me. No motivation. Just,
The highs and the lows. Well, we need to give a shout out to Brian. Brian can't be with us today. He's off in the bush, as we say here in Australia. Excuse me. So shout out to Brian, and you will be missed. And what we do have, probably on and off throughout the show, if her internet can play, will be Dee. But she's been having issues for the last few hours, so we'll see how we go with that. But we also do have Kiri with us, and we're going to get an update from Kiri today. So do you want to, let's bring Kiri out. Hey, Kiri.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm really good, darling, despite how I sound.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's a time of where I think we're all going to be going through ups and downs like this, but I think it's all a part of the clearing out process.
That's what it feels like. Absolutely. And there's been lots of highs and lots of lows, sometimes from minute to minute. Yeah, I'm not the only one. Okay, God. So, Kiri, you have really made your presence known there in New Zealand and pretty much around the world. So while you were being held captive, lots of different stories were going around about what was happening with you, what the tactics were in terms of dealing with the charges, who was around you. And unfortunately, you weren't in a position to speak for yourself.
No.
I did announce some of the things that I was being told last week, but I did preface it by saying none of it came directly from you.
Yeah.
So to hear from you directly this time.
That's okay.
What happened when you? Because I think the last update we really had was you were in the courtroom. We had Jenny in the courtroom via Skype. She could hear you screaming from somewhere else. You weren't in the courtroom itself. You were never brought into the courtroom.
Right.
And so what was going on at that point?
Okay, well, we'll go back a few days prior. Friday the 26th, I have about 6 or 7 detectives pull up at my house. And they're coming for the negotiable instruments and the TSB checkbook.
But hadn't you given all that to the bank?
No. The TSB checkbooks I have, as well as my negotiable instruments that I registered on the PPSR.
Okay.
So the police come and arrest me on the Friday, I think it was the 26th. And they charge me with, they tell me I'm being arrested for deception. They failed to read me my rights. Actually, when they showed up, they only showed up for a warrant. They didn't have a warrant to arrest at all. They just had a warrant for the TSB checkbook, which is where I deposited the value. And they also had a warrant for the National Bank checkbook, which was my negotiable instruments that I registered from my closed bank account.
Okay. I'm with you.
So they came here for those 2 items, and in the process they ended up, I stood at the door and I said, no, look, just stop. I don't consent to you all walking in charging in like this because I have children here. I just want you to stop and to think and consider them before you come charging in. But by then she said, well, I'm arresting you for deception, and they attempted to grab me and throw me up against the wall in front of my children, which I just asked them to settle down. I said, just settle down because, if I really wanted to, I'd send you flying. I said, but we can do this properly. And I turned around and I gave them my wrist and I allowed them to handcuff me. And at that stage, I was taken out of my house and put in the cop car across the road from my house. So while I'm sitting in the cop car, they're now entering. There's about 6 or 7 officers now entering into my house to get the 2 checkbooks. And that's okay with us. So, I mean, my children's dad, who was here at the time, I said to him, look, just go and get the checkbooks and give them to them, because we didn't want to fight or argue with them. So we did that, but then they decided that they wanted to go through everything and take whatever they wanted to take that wasn't on the warrant. So they took my ID, they took my driver's license, they took my passport, they took a whole pile of my documents that I have here. Not entirely sure why they did all that because it wasn't on the list. But in my mind, I think they were just trying to find something so that they could pin a few more things on me. Yeah. But anyway, prior to being arrested that day, we had decided to put together a system to educate local businesses around the Taranaki region in regards to exchanging value. So we had informed them that I'd registered my negotiable instruments. A couple of the businesses, we even gave them a copy of all the letters and of everything with all the correspondence that we'd sent to the government and to the bank regarding our deposit of value, just so that they knew that we weren't trying to pull the wool over their eyes. So we were completely transparent about everything we were doing. And the reason why we did it was because we want to. Now, we don't actually have an exchange value system as of yet, but what we wanted to do was we wanted to educate businesses around the region of how exchanging value would work. And like I said in one of the first interviews I did, I imagined it to be an EFTPOS system. So it'll be an EFTPOS terminal that'll go into these local businesses, and people will be able to come down to our centre and apply for a card that links to their value, and they can go down and swipe their card. So that's how we imagined it to work. But ultimately, we needed to be able to educate business owners on the new value exchange system. I mean, because when you try and talk to people about the whole thing, it just really falls on deaf ears. People just have no idea what you're talking about. So in our mind, the way we decided to structure it was we were going to show people and lead by example exactly how the value exchange system could work. So we went out trying to get the conversation started amongst business owners. Yeah. Just sort of start thinking about alternatives and opening them up to. Yeah, that's right. And one of them was I actually exchanged my value with my negotiable instruments. Now, I never once used any of the checks that were from the TSB checkbook because I knew that those funds hadn't cleared. But I did know, I did have my negotiable instruments available, which is what I used to exchange my value. So I exchanged some of my value with these local businesses with my negotiable instruments, not the TSB checkbook. Now, there's a comment that was made in the paper that I used a check to go and buy groceries, which is in actual fact true. I did use a check from my TSB check account to go and purchase my groceries, but I can assure everyone there was more than enough funds available to meet the $400 that I spent on groceries. So I just want to clear that matter up with people so that people are aware of how I actually made. Well, I just wanted to say something. Like what the story that came out seemed to be that you went around town writing checks to local businesses to the total of $65,000 was the figure that I heard. That you didn't have the funds in your account to clear. Now,
what Jenny, I think, clarified was you had, yes, you have a checkbook to an account that had $1,600 in it.
Yep.
That was more than enough to cover the checks that you had written.
Yeah.
However, the bank, when you first deposited your value, closed all the accounts, so those checks bounced.
That's right. That's exactly what happened.
So they bounced because of the actions of the bank.
That's
not
right.
because of what you did. Okay.
No,
right.
Not because of what I did.
All right.
So my bank is actually in breach.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So once we did that, we had put all the documents together because I knew full well what I was doing, and I knew full well that I was going to be arrested. But what people need to understand is that in our mind, we knew that we had to raise a matter. So in order to, we needed to create an event that was big enough to attract the attention of people. Now, whether people choose to believe that I committed fraud or not, I mean, there is much information available for people to actually work out what really did happen. We've made all the information available for the world to rely upon. So, I mean, you can read what the paper says, but if you go onto the likes of Facebook, or if you go onto the likes of all the blogs that are being created, you'll actually find that the information that has come out in the paper does not nowhere near match the information that we've made available for people to be able to, you know, discover their own truth rather than be led by what the paper is saying.
You wouldn't be the first person that, sort of slander has been used against to discredit.
Yeah. I mean, and what the paper needs to understand as well, the paper needs to also understand that part of our system was based on what we call karma energetics. And so what we did was built a spiritual wall around these tycoons. And what it meant is that every time they tried to resist us, they were only exposing themselves further. So with the newspaper coming out and putting out, a huge amount of disinformation in those stories, what they've actually done is they have Taranaki Daily News have highlighted themselves to actually be a part of the, to aiding and abetting the human slavery system, to aiding and abetting the disinfo, and basically lying and keeping the truth from people. So that's all they've done. They've really just damaged themselves by putting that story out, because when the truth really does come out, people will now remember Taranaki Daily News as the paper that hid all the information, and as the paper that lied to us, and as the paper that committed these fraudulent acts along with the banks and the courts and the government system. So that was the system that we built around them. It's a spiritual system, and people need to understand that this is a spiritual journey. This is not about gaining. This is not about any pecuniary advantage. I mean, when we went and brought some of the stuff, we actually brought some of the stuff back here and we left it all purposely still in its boxes, because we knew that they would be back to get it. We knew that the police were going to come and pick up that stuff. So, I mean, if we were really out to commit fraud, then I can assure people that we would be smart enough to have gotten rid of all of that stuff before the shop owners even came to collect it, or the police came to collect it. But the purpose of the exercise was not for a pecuniary advantage, and it was not for money. It was to create an event big enough to attract attention. Because what we've found throughout this whole, since, the uncovering of the OPPT, what we've found is that the whole world is rising up against their governments. But unfortunately, New Zealanders are quite comfortable living under the thumb of the government, and they're all sleeping. So they're all living in preoccupation. So we needed to create an event big enough to be able to snap them out of that preoccupation, so that they could wake up and see what was really going on.
So what's been the response from these businesses? I mean, where are they now in terms of looking at alternatives to the current system?
Well, I'm saddened about the businesses, because they were well aware of who I am. They are well aware of what I'm all about, and they are well aware of what I'm doing. Unfortunately, those businesses fell victim to the Hawera police, who in my mind harbour some very corrupt, dangerous human beings in that building. Now, they've fallen victim to the Hawera police, and the Hawera police have basically gone in and coerced with all of them to basically bring this case against me. So I really feel sorry for these business owners. But I suppose, once again, all it's doing again is it's highlighting where the corrupt is, and where we need to sort of focus our attention. And I will say the Hawera police, they've got a lot to answer for.
Okay, so carry on from where you were in that courtroom.
Okay, so anyway, I'm arrested on the Friday and I appear in the New Plymouth courtroom on the Saturday. Now, we do the, please produce your standing authority, and we take those steps, what law you're using. The judge is just, he's ignorant. He doesn't want to hear any of it. So he just orders the prosecutor to remand me back in custody again until the Tuesday, which was when Jen, I believe, was present via Skype.
On the Tuesday?
Monday night, I'm visited by a native assessor and the Chief Justice, and they were actually going to order for my release that night, but we thought we'd leave it and we'd, attend the hearing, because then we could submit the paperwork that we needed to submit. So that Tuesday morning, I'm taken from New Plymouth police station because I've been held in custody in New Plymouth, and I'm delivered back to Hawera Courthouse Tuesday morning. They put me in a cell at the courthouse because I'm waiting to go up for my hearing. While I'm sitting in my cell, I'm singing away, and I'm singing a few Māori songs and whatnot. And I'm just really enjoying the energy, because when I pulled up at the courthouse, there were so many people present. I believe there were approximately 200 people, supporters, there in support of what we're doing. So, I mean, it was an awesome turnout. So I was really energised by that. So I get put into the cell to wait for my hearing to be pulled up. And I'm sitting in there singing away. But while I'm singing away, I'm looking out the door, and I just noticed that all the officers are acting weird, and everyone in the court, they're running around frantically. So I'm sort of thinking, what's up? And I'm sitting there for a good, half an hour to 45 minutes in the cell. And then the door opens, and the officer who's meant to be taking care of me, he says to me, "Come on, Kiri, you're up." And I says, "Oh, is it my turn? Is it, boss?" And he says, "Yep, your turn." So I walk out, and I go to walk towards the courtroom door, and I notice that he's blocking it. So at that stage, my heart starts to, my heart just starts leaping out of my throat, because I'm already intuitively picking up that something's not right. And as I look down the other end of the hallway, I notice it's pitch black, but there's about 4 figures down the hallway. And so I just walk off towards these 4 figures. And I walk far enough down the hallway so that the 2 officers that were blocking the court doorway step away from the door. And then I realised right then that they were actually there to take me from the courtroom, because I think they were frightened about what had actually happened. And not only that, they knew full well that the Governor-General had ordered for my release, and that I was going to walk, because they knew full well that I'd done nothing wrong. So it's at that stage, I believe, that they all panicked, and then they had decided to kidnap me from the courthouse, which is what they did. When I realised that they were going to take me from the courthouse, I bowled one of the officers out of the way, and I sent her flying. She actually fell back into the cell and almost landed in the toilet. It was quite funny now that I think about it. But I reached for the courtroom door, and I tried to get into the courtroom just to yell out to my people to let them know that they were going to take me. And it was too late. They grabbed me and they gagged me, and they started dragging me off down the hallway and ripping at my hair and yanking at my arm. And I had 3 men on one arm, and I kept screaming for them to stop, twisting my arm like that, because I couldn't, it was going to break. They were trying to break my shoulder. They were trying to break my wrist. They were trying to snap my fingers. And I just kept screaming out for help and asking, begging them to stop it. Because I was really scared. you never, you watch on TV when people are abducted and taken, but not once do you imagine that it would ever happen to you, especially not in a courthouse. And it's the most frightening experience that one could ever go through. But I think the worst experience of it all was that, all my people had commandeered the court, which meant that they couldn't actually leave the courtroom to come to my rescue. So all the while I'm screaming and begging for someone to help me, because I'm being taken by who I now believe were actually black ops, not police officers. Although there were 3 police officers present, there were actually also 3 black ops present that weren't being shown in the photo that was taken. So, it's the most scariest thing one could ever imagine. And when they get me in that car, they're elbowing me in the throat, they're elbowing me in the head, they're strangling me with their elbow, digging it into my throat so that I can't move. So I use my foot to try and open the door while they're screaming off down the road, and I'm trying to, get out of their grip, because I'm absolutely frightened and I'm not understanding why I'm being taken from the cell in this way. I mean, they didn't. Had they have opened the door and said, "Kiri, we're going back for lunch to the station," or something of that nature, or "Kiri, you won't be going up," I don't think I would have panicked as much. But because of the way I was taken from the courthouse, I was really scared that my life was in danger. And in fact, I anticipated that they were going to put me in a vehicle, take me to some back road, and probably put a gun to my head and shoot me. That's how scared I was for my life. So anyway, they get me back to the Harwood police station, and one of the officer who's driving, he tells one of the officers to quickly go and lock the gate. He says, "Go and lock the gate because they'll come for her." So lock the gate. So they Fort Knox the Harwood police station, and they had me trapped. They had me locked in one of these cells. When my people came down to look for me, because one of my sister was actually outside when it all went down, but she didn't get to me in time, so she alerted everyone to what had happened. And when they finally do come down to the police station, the cops just give everyone the runaround. They tell everyone, "Oh, she's pleaded guilty, so we've taken her to Arahata," and they just spend all that time constantly lying and, excuse my French, but bullshitting to everyone. They're telling my people and my family, because my family and friends are really concerned at this stage, because the last thing they hear of me is me screaming my head off and begging for help. So all my family is thinking is, "Oh my gosh, she's, they're going to kill her. They're going to do something to her." So I mean, at that stage, once I'm in Harwood and I'm locked in the cell, they, I keep saying to them, "Look, you're corrupt, and, my people are going to come for me, they're going to find me." They keep telling me to shut up. They said, "Oh, shut up, no one gives a shit about you. Not one person's even showed up here," which I knew was a lie, because I know my people would come for me. And now, from Tuesday all the way to Thursday, I'm bounced around from police station to police station. So my first trip, they tell my family they're sending me to New Plymouth, where in actual fact they took me off to Whanganui. I think we went to Whanganui first, and we were there for a little while, and then they took me over to Palmerston North, which is where I spent the night. Spent the night in Palmerston North police station, and then I was whipped out at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning again, and whipped off to Wellington. So I mean, the officers were making a huge effort to make sure that no family could contact me. I couldn't get in contact with my lay representative. They didn't even allow me any tools to be able to prepare my affidavit or to prepare myself for my case. Now, going back prior to that, here's something that people might find interesting. When I was abducted and I was taken down to the Harwood police station, they actually brought the court hearing to me. So they closed the courtroom at about 5 o'clock, and the judge, the registrar, and the court security guard, who happens to be the same court security guard who I currently have on courtesy notice, they all come down to the police station, and I'm forced to basically have my hearing in the Harwood police cell. So it's at that stage that I'm so fearful of my life that just said to the judge, look, I will just do whatever you want me to do, because I consider most of you as armed and dangerous, and I consider you highly capable and highly dangerous. So I'm just going to do whatever you want. And he said, look, I don't want you to do whatever I want. I want you to do it because you know what's best. And I said, well, at the end of the day, I'm just a mum. I'm just a mother, okay? And I just want to go home to being a mother. I just want to go home to my children. So I will do whatever it takes so that I can go home and be a mum to my children. Because, you know, the way you guys have taken me, my family are going to be absolutely, you know, they're going to be absolutely beside themselves. Because the last thing they know is that their mum has just been kidnapped and they don't know where she is and no one can find her. I'm really sorry, but it was the hardest time of my life, and I wouldn't recommend that anyone go out and do what I did. Okay, there's no need to go out and do what I did. I've already done it. We've already created a big enough event for people to wake up and find out the truth. But my heart was going out to my children and to my mum because they didn't know where I was.
Oh, sweetheart.
But you know what? I just want to add, you know, the whole time I remained strong. So, you know, everyone that's been praying for me and meditating for me, I really, really felt that. Because despite the fact that I knew my life was in danger, I just, I stood my ground and I remained strong.
Do you really think they were capable of going that far?
I'll tell you what, the hiding that I got from them, because I was given a hurrah of a hiding from the police, and I don't believe they were New Zealand police. I believe they were Black Ops. But the hiding that I got from them, I could only imagine that had they had the right tools, and I didn't have such a huge worldwide audience, I can only imagine that they would have taken me out the back somewhere and put a gun to my head or something. These men are dangerous. They are absolutely dangerous, 100%, no doubt about it, that they are dangerous. And they are highly capable of anything, really. Anything to protect and service their corporate orders, they will do it. But, you know, in saying all of that, I don't hold it against them. I don't have any animosity towards them because I'm home with my family now. And even when they did what they did, I don't hold it against them because they've all been brainwashed just like you and I. And at the end of the day, underneath that uniform is just a human being like myself. So I don't
very
hold
damaged one.
Yeah. I don't hold it against them at all.
Well, you know, one of the things that you've done, Kiri, is you've exposed them for who they really are. There's no more facade, no more pretend.
That's
you know,
right.
It's plain and simple. We're the mob. You know, and it's that whole exposure that you were looking for, that everyone got to see.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world, you know, and everyone who's listening to the show gets to see what is really there in place as their quote-unquote governance or their quote-unquote authorities. And it's just a bunch of thugs.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
let's look at the basic situation here. They were dealing with a young mum who was there on a financial matter. They're not dealing with a convicted murderer.
No.
They weren't in fear for their own lives. That's extraordinary behaviour, and maybe I'm just trying to hope for the best for people or seeing goodness where there isn't any. I don't know. But my faith in humanity and my belief in what we're going through right now is those people involved in that did not walk away from that untouched.
No. And like I said to you, I mean, that's where karma energetics comes in. And the system,
Absolutely.
the spiritual system that we laid around them, we placed the spiritual system around them like they were in a box, okay? And then Kiri came down like a grate, like a lid for the box. So I mean, all they've done, like I said, karma energetic. You will only highlight yourself. So the more bad you give, the more you expose yourself and open yourself up to the truth. So all they have done is they have injured themselves. Nobody did anything to them, to the New Zealand police. They have totally injured themselves. We may as well have given them the gun and let them shoot their own foot, because that's in effect what they've done. They've just really exposed themselves as to how corrupt and how far they will really go to service their corporate orders.
I wouldn't be surprised, Kiri, that there were people in that police station, people in that courtroom, who work there, who have seen what you brought forth to them,
yep,
and are really, really, and it's those people that are, the secretary that's kind of sitting on the side quietly, who are in positions to really, really expose what's going on. And when you expose and you bring out their true nature in front of them so that they can see the contrast, I imagine there's more than one or two people in the system that you've opened their eyes,
yep,
to what's really going on.
We really have. I know you're so right with that, because there was, I will say we can't, just because Hawera police station are as, act that way. It doesn't happen right across the board. So I found that the New Plymouth police station, they are absolutely wonderful. They are wonderful men and women. They are honourable men and women. They were very kind to me when I was in their custody, and very respectful. And there were a couple of officers there that were very in fact, I had a chat with one officer that was there, and he bawled his eyes out. He sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and then he sort of snapped down and said, "Oh, I better go and wash my face, because I can't be walking around here looking like this." So I mean, we really touched his heart, and he felt it. So he became a really, really someone who I sort of relied on a bit for energy, because I could feel my family coming through him. And he is a wonderful man, really, really wonderful man. So I mean, we touched a lot of hearts. So you're quite right, Bob. They're not all corrupt, and in fact, it's just the minority really that are corrupt.
Well, that minority got caught between a rock and a hard place. I mean, they needed to make an example out of you enough to scare us and to scare everybody off from following in your footsteps, but not so much that they caused a complete rebellion because the world was watching. It was a fine line for them to tread.
Yeah, it was a very fine line. That's why building that karma energetics around them was the first and foremost thing that we did, because we knew, if anything, that's what would bring out the truth. And it did it in such a beautiful way that everyone's true colours were exposed. And no matter how much they tried to damage me, the more damage they tried to put on me, they effectively just damaged themselves a whole lot further. Because what we're finding is that there's been a lot of people that have said, "Oh, she's nothing but a fraudster, and she's gone around ripping off all these local businesses," which is not true. I'm not a fraudster, and I'm not into ripping anybody off. That's not my nature. And I could never do that to anybody. My nature is too giving to be a taker. But what is happening is that people are reading what the paper is saying, but then they're going onto the internet and they're finding a whole pile of other information. And then they're working out where the holes are in the newspaper stories. So, I mean, people are smart enough to work it out themselves. They just have to go and find the information that was made available. And people are actually writing to me saying, "Oh my gosh, we thought you were just a fraudster, but we've looked into this and we've had a look at both sides of the story, and wow, you're just amazing. We support you wholeheartedly, and we now see and understand exactly what you're doing and what you've done. We will never buy. We're going to cancel our subscription to the paper because we feel like we've just been wasting all this money on a newspaper for being fed a whole pile of rubbish and lies. So, I mean, people are waking up. We certainly did achieve the job of waking people up and getting the sleeping giant here in New Zealand to wake up. Not only that, but it's rippled across the entire world, as we all know. So, I mean, we did a fantastic job. Everything that happened, like I say it all the time, but everything that happens, whether we view it to be good or bad, it's all a part of it, and it's all part and parcel. So we've got to be grateful for everything, not just the good. We've got to be thankful and grateful for the bad as well, because it's through the bad that we provide that the contrast comes, and then we're able to see the differences. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Kiri, although you may say that you don't recommend anyone to do, you've inspired many to do exactly that. And I mean, I've been already to the bank twice now.
Yeah.
And I just made a third deposit. But what I'm discovering is that the conversation that I had with the bank is completely changed. They're no longer in a position of power. The usual arguments don't work.
Yeah.
And you can just see them scrambling. Now,
they've never been in a position of power when they come up against
never been
Bob.
in this position. Now, my uncle has he's also made a deposit with his bank, which didn't get as much publicity, but he just heard today or yesterday he got a phone call from the bank. And what the bank said was that they were not going to process the transaction. He asked if they would give a legal reason why. They said they will not give a legal reason why. That they were returning his documents and they were terminating his privileges at the bank and gave him 30 days to move his accounts.
Wow.
And, a lot of people would say, well, that was a negative reaction, but it was a reaction. Do you understand? It was a reaction. And reactions are they take place out of fear. That's fight or flight.
Yeah. And
they're afraid. They're afraid, and they don't want him stirring things. They're afraid that he's going to cause some sort of run on the bank, I think. Or he's going to, through his interactions with employees at the bank, stir up trouble. So they don't want to do it. They don't want to deal with him. They don't want to have him in his presence. They don't want to be approached by any more documents of that nature. The conversation that I had with my bank, I had very similar. He would not. There was no, because there actually was no legal reason for them to do what they did, and they knew that. And he even admitted, he says, you're right, you have recourse about that. Take it to court if you want. Go to the Attorney General if you like. But I'm not going to do it. And basically, without saying it outright, he says, I'm breaking the law because I'm more afraid of them than I am of you.
Wow.
Although Kiri wasn't here on the last show, may not have heard it, what came out of that conversation more than anything was that the main reason they wouldn't process it was because it was a non-negotiable instrument.
Oh.
Yes. It was a non-negotiable instrument, and he kept repeating that. And I did know what he meant, what he was saying. He's like, I can't trade this, and I can't make any money off of it. And for that reason, they weren't going. That was the reason given why he would not process it. So I thought about it, and I thought I struggled with my conscience with it, and I was like, you know what? In the end, it doesn't matter anyway. Make it negotiable all they want. Who's going to buy them?
That's right.
But the fact is, by reissuing it as a negotiable instrument, and
they're either going to have to they're either going to have to put up or shut up.
Exactly, and it exposes the fraud
even further.
Further, because they're saying, well, if we can make money off it, we'll do it for you. If you're going to limit how much we can make off it by just giving us the transaction fee, we're not interested. So it's just another way of getting another aspect of this out in the open. So let's, yeah. I mean, I'm keen to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, it's and you know what? It's been in not taking, I'm in a different country, so it's been quite fun. It was really, really nice to be in the position of power and to understand your rights, and not to roll over, based on the lies that they've been telling you. One of the things that I am most happy about, and I'm most, excited about through the whole interaction that I had with my bank, is lots of people in the bank are asking questions now.
Yes.
Because when you're presented with everything, I did get to speak with the assistant vice president, and she had confirmed that the whole legal team was being mobilized, and it brought all kinds of issues up for the bank. And this is the more people who do this, and they're all tied together. Understand, just because it happened in New Zealand and there's one in Europe and a couple over here in the States, they all know about each other. The powers that be, they all know what is happening. And what's happening is their greatest fear. Their greatest fear. And one of the things that, I presented to the banker, and I said, you've been issuing banknotes for 150 years. These are promises to pay their IOUs to the people. When did you expect that you were going to pay?
And how can you owe us something if you haven't already taken
right,
something?
Right, how can you owe us something if you hadn't taken something from us first? His response was, moving forward.
Hey, guys, we've got a couple of callers, and they may want to speak to Kiri, so let's try bringing them out. We've got area code 732. Hello. Area code 732. Hello.
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 Hi,
yes.
What's your name?
This is Mark from New Jersey.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Matt.
Hi. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Dave. Kiri. Bob, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good. I don't know if you all remember me. I was on a few weeks ago. I told you about my struggles. Okay. Well, just know that I'm alive and well. My head is still attached to my shoulders, so I'm not going anywhere for a little while at least. And, I've been following some information as best I can. I just wanted to say, Kiri, I'm glad that, you were okay and they didn't do any serious injury or harm to you, while they had you in their custody, I'm glad you came out of that smelling like a rose, even though you had to go through the dirt to get to the end of the process. But I wanted to just make mention of something here. Just something that I was thinking about. I realized that we as people, we know that our value is there. I mean, in terms of what we're going to use as far as exchanges during this time. It's there, it's available, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to convert it for access to use it for whatever we need. But I had a thought, and I understand a little bit, a very small bit about banking, and that the banks have always been a for-profit organization. Every single one of them are out to make money. So every time they take on a depositor, especially if they take on a depositor who's going to deposit a large amount into, let's say, just a regular checking or savings account, the bank realizes that they're taking a risk. Because at any time, you can pull that money out of there, and then every negotiable instrument that they've actually allowed someone to invest on, the bank has to eat the loss. Somehow,
there is never a loss. No, there's never a loss.
Well,
not for them.
Okay, you're right. You're right. There really never is a loss, but you can put your money in today and next week and go and withdraw it all because there's nothing that says that you can't. But I was looking at some alternatives, and I was looking more so towards credit unions, and that credit unions are nonprofit organizations and they're member-based. So they're really, the investors are the members, and the members are part owners of the credit union once they create accounts and deposit and begin to do transactions that way. And I just wanted to pose the question to see if anybody, would consider that maybe a credit union might be a little bit more friendly and maybe more apt to working with the people rather than giving the resistance that we're getting from banks.
They might be initially on the face value, but ultimately they still run under the Federal Reserve System.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
I picture it, if you've ever seen any old gangster movies, and when the mob takes over a particular territory, they want a particular cut from each of the businesses, and when they go in, they expect a certain amount or certain percentage. Now, if they go to that business and they say, okay, well, we only have this much, what happens to the business owner? And it's not a far stretch because the mafia, they learned from the government. So you're talking about the same system. And I understand the fear of a lot of these banksters. If I let this much money out, I'm going to be expected by my bosses to have a certain return for it. And if I show up with that return being light, this is what, they're up against. But it's the numbers, and the more people who do, the more people who start to demand their value. Their bosses are getting the signal already right now. People are awake, they're aware, they know how things are working. Their scam is known, it's public. People know. So what they're hoping is we can intimidate them so that they won't do anything about it. And I honestly think, Kiri, being the first one out of the gate is the response that you got is typical. Intimidate, make an example, let's get everyone else afraid of trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is it's having the exact opposite effect. Because I tell you right now, if I was in New Zealand, I would be at that exact same bank. I tell you, I kid you not, I would be at that exact same bank with very similar paperwork demanding my value.
So how do you... Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Because this is still in alignment with the whole idea of what we're trying to do is repurpose the current structure. And that's certainly an option. But what does it look like if we leave it alone altogether?
Oh, I quite like that idea. What we've been working on for the last, since I've been out pretty much, is we're connecting with various people across our country who have knowledge or are in the know or know somebody that can help us put together this EFTPOS system. So it's an online. We visualise it's an online banking system connected to an EFTPOS system that we're going to see in a lot of our local businesses around the Taranaki region. Well, this is where we want to trial it anyway. So I imagine if the banks don't want to play that, surely we've got to have some sort of cut-off time. And the cut-off time would involve, well, okay, that's okay, you don't want to play with us, we're just going to go ahead without you and set up our own. And I can see this online banking system taking off in such a huge way that it could even overnight cripple their entire system overnight. So that's our plan to move forward. Our plan, because I'm setting up a centre here in Hawera, and it's an empowerment centre, and there's going to be a range of services there. where people can come and create, people can learn, people can become empowered, people can identify what their motivations are and how they go about achieving their dreams. So with that centre that we're setting up here in Hawera, we anticipate that we're going to be setting up the new paradigm systems there. So the new earth, the new way of trading and exchanging. And we imagine that to be an online banking system connected to an FPOS terminal system where people will come down to the centre, they'll apply for their card, they'll get all signed up and whatever they need to do, get their card, we'll credit their card with their value, and then they'll be able to go in and participate, go in and trade some of their value in local businesses that actually hold the FPOS terminals.
Because it seems to me like we're still giving far too much power to the former system, the former banking system. As long as we are still attached to the idea of our value being represented by their FRNs, then they hold all the cards, they have all the power.
Exactly.
And it's about getting them to play with us. But if seriously, we can decide that our value can be expressed in any number of ways, including shells. Let's go down to the beach and everyone collect as many shells as they want, and that's going to be our representation of value. They're freely available. They wash up fresh every day. Whatever. All it requires is enough people to agree on what the representation is. That's all that's required.
Hello?
That's if you really need one. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I am so glad you mentioned that. I did a little bit more research, and there are people in communities who have done exactly what you have said. One of the communities that has been doing this for over 20 years is a community in Ithaca, New York. Bob, you may be familiar with that area. That's upstate New York. That's New York State, not in the city.
Yes, I know where Ithaca,
Ithaca, New York has their own currency. They're called Ithaca Hours. They're called Hours, Hours. And if you Google, or if you just put it in a web search, ithacahours.com, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, and you will see their currency, and that is the representation of their value, not FRNs. Now, the exchange ratio of FRNs to Ithaca Hours is 10 FRNs for 1 Ithaca hour. So the exchange ratio is if you're taking FRNs and you want to use them at Ithaca, which they will accept them, you have to pay 10 times more in FRNs than if you had Ithaca hours. So they have their own currency system. They give you the history. They tell you why they did it, which was partly because they didn't want to have another depression on their hands just in case, the dollars went belly up again and everybody's stuck, with nothing. They have their own currency. And there are other communities across the nation who have followed suit, just like down in Texas, I think also in Chicago, and some other cities around the nation have done the exact same thing. So they have a representation.
These ideas are great. These ideas are great at community level. When you're dealing with just the people inside your community, but the world has become a pretty small place, and we're used to dealing with each other globally. So we need to institute something that is that can be used globally, like Kiri's talking about with an FPOS system. And at the moment, as came out on Dee's blog last week, with all of the corporations that are under the umbrella of HSBC, the SWIFT code is one of them. And every bank that currently operates has to operate through the SWIFT system. They need to have their own SWIFT code in order to transfer from one to another. Now, if an alternative was set up to the SWIFT system, that's a one people code, that doesn't sound like it's that hard to do. And then it's just simply about educating businesses around the world, those who are providing, you only want the ones who are actually providing a service or a product or service that is actually of value, and let the rest of it fall away. that there's an alternative. And you can stick with the SWIFT system and the FRNs that come out of that where you've got people struggling. Or you can also concurrently, you don't have to drop one for the other, but you can concurrently run with this other system that's a one-people system that also operates purely digitally online or whatever, or with cards, and where you've got people who are completely abundant. I mean, on the surface of it doesn't sound that hard. And I know in practice it's probably going to take a bit of time. Excuse me. But when I say time, I mean, that's so relative these days, and it keeps speeding up, so who knows?
In my opinion, I think our own fear of the unknowing makes it hard. Because, in all honesty, I truly believe it's quite an easy thing to set up. And I mean, we've got all the people right across the world that have the knowledge of how to build these systems, how to put them together. Because I mean, we currently have the systems already. The problem is we can't use those systems because the powers that were are not allowing us into those systems. So I really just believe it's just a matter of duplicating what they've got and repurposing it for everybody, rather than how it's been, vacuumed and everybody's energy is being sucked up by the 1%. I mean, I really don't think it's a difficult task. I think the most difficult task will be just our own fear of the unknown and getting over our own fear, really. So, I mean, I've dreamt about the system. I've seen it.
Actually, maybe what we're talking about is the IUV system anyway. Maybe that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a beautiful system, and I think getting it, starting it on a community level is where you need to take it, but it also needs to be something that can cope globally as well, which is, because I mean, we've all got to start within our own communities. If we can educate people within our own communities, then half our job is done. We don't need to go about educating the entire world. We just need to start in our own backyard. And I can actually see both systems running alongside each other and working fine. So those that are still plugged into the matrix can still operate in those slavery systems. But those who are wanting to step out of the old slavery system and step into the new earth and go with the new paradigm, they too can do that as well through the new through the IUV exchange. So I really think it's something that can be quite easily done. It's just getting those key players and those key people together to make a choice and say, right, okay, well, we've made a choice. We've got the skills to be able to build these programs and these systems and get these machines, these EPOS terminals up and running. So let's go and do it. And once those key people just make a decision, now they could be people that are already in the banking industry, who knows? But once those key people do finally come together and say, right, let's do it because it's for the better of all mankind, I mean, everyone's going to benefit from it. So, we're not putting anybody at risk by bringing it out. But, yeah, I think we really need to focus on just getting those key people. And all it really takes is just one person in that area with that knowledge to step up and say, yep, I'll help. I'll help do this. Problem is too many people are seeing a monetary gain, and I just need to stress to people, it's not about money. There is no money. Money is not even real. I mean, they keep seeing $50 bills and $100 notes, but what they don't realise is that was just an IOU. It's not. The value was not ever in the piece of paper. The value always came from the person. The person that put in all those hours to make that factory tick over. It was never the money. A lot of people are saying, where would you get the money to pay your bills? And it's like, well, the same place we've always been getting it, through human energy. It's people that make the world go round. There's a famous Māori saying, I can't actually remember it, but it's it's what makes the world, and it's people. It's people that make the world go round. It's not money or anything.
No.
People is what makes the world go round.
Well, this might be a time to mention. I've been toying around with the idea, and I mentioned it to Lisa about starting a mentoring program through the 5D Media Network and doing it on the IUV exchange. Basically, we're not charging anyone. People can express their value in any way that they see fit. To have a period of time for mentoring, half-hour session or whatever. And it may even just be a letter of appreciation. Or if people can decide to donate or whatever motivates you, if you receive value from the mentoring, you exchange in kind.
Yeah.
And, this is something that we can all do with each other right now.
Yeah.
And we are doing it. People are reaching out, hey, I'm having problems here. I need help with, whatever. We our refrigerator broke down. Put the word out and see what happens. Let's start to work with each other, and see how we can, because I believe that we've got a lot more resources and a lot more power to do than we've ever realized. Especially now that people are beginning to come together on the same page.
Sorry, I just got a huge energy rush when you said that. Something happened. Hey, guys, we've actually got quite a few callers to get to. Mark, was there anything else you wanted to add, darling? You still there? No, he's just dropped. Okay. Area code 239. Hello, area code 239. Okay, we will skip you for the moment and move on to area code 301. Hello,
me?
301. That's you.
Oh, yes. Hi, it's Kiri.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Bob. How are you? Hi, Kiri. Hi, Lisa. I got a question. We're getting all of this information from everywhere right now. I'm kind of like all over the place, like every single day. It feels like my job at this point to look at what's going on kind of, in the out there world. And it seems to me as though this financial system is about ready to pull itself down, and it seems like they're pulling their own plug, and it seems to me like it's happening like really soon.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's play with.
What I wanted to, when I was sort of talked about, we're still giving it too much power. When you go back to just the whole basics of law of attraction, manifestation, creation, whatever you want to call it, anything you cease to give your energy to starts to break down.
No doubt.
And look how many of us over the last 6 months have ceased to give our energy to the banking system.
Big time.
Whether it's because we're not paying, mortgages and loans anymore, or whether it's because we've just woken up to what they do and we're not mentally and emotionally feeding them.
Right.
Whatever way it looks like, their whole energetic structure has crumbled.
I agree. My question here is, all right, so this is what I'm thinking. There are definitely going to be factions from within the old system that have already construed plots and ways to come back in and make like somebody said recently, put a pretty new dress on the drunk girl as I think about it.
As Rodriguez once said, a monkey in silk is a monkey no less.
No doubt. So we've got probably this is going to be coming in. What my question is here is, is this just going to be completely organic as we move into this? As this falls and they come out, it looks like they're planning on bringing out the Iraqi dinar, or whatever it's called, as you know, that seems to be the thing that's coming out. I mean, everybody's saying, even mainstream media is saying it's all coming down. Well, at least the mainstream media I'm seeing on Facebook. For whatever that's because I don't even turn the TV on. But, you know, it seems like that's what's going on. So, you know, again, who knows? But, you know, so we know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be jockeying for the position of, you know, bringing in the old system in a new dress. And here we are with this just pure, beautiful, incredible spiritual way of creating an energy exchange amongst ourselves. Is this something that we are just going to do as it goes? Is there any, you know, anything that anybody's constructed to say, okay, we already know how this is going to happen? Is it just outside of my awareness at this point? Because there are parts of my awareness that say, oh, hell yes, we got this, no problem. But in this space that I'm in right now, I'm going, okay, so how are we going to come in there? And because there are going to be so many people on the face of this planet who are not in a higher state of awareness that will grab a hold of anything that gives them enough money to make it through. So how is
Judy, I think I'm in the same place you are. That when I'm in that state of expanded consciousness, I totally get how this is all going to work.
Yeah.
And as soon as I try to bring that into a more concrete, tangible series of events or visuals, or have a language for it, it all breaks down.
Gotcha. So when we take it back into the old system, it's all screwed because the old system really just doesn't even really exist in where we are, truly.
Well, one thing I keep hearing is that the powers that were know and have known for a very long time that the RV would be their final act, which is why they have continued to put it off and put it off and put it off, put it off. They knew it was going to be the last thing that they do. So I guess what's going to be interesting to observe is what happens when that thing actually goes live and people actually get their money in their accounts that they can use, not just sitting there frozen. What immediately sort of follows, especially in that sort of that initial week or two period. That's going to be really, really interesting because energetically things are just happening so fast, and the repercussions for these acts are happening so fast that, I mean, what's come out so far has been a bit of hype and propaganda and some downright bullshit, as the saying goes.
No doubt.
So, again, that's on one level what I'm just sitting back and observing at the moment. Is just, okay, let's look and see. Let's just have a look-see at this RV and see what happens immediately afterwards. If that really is the absolute last act that they can pull off.
Cool.
But I know what you're saying about the other thing, like on some level, and in my heart, I feel like I absolutely know how this is going to roll out, and it's going to be really easy, and it's going to be quick, and it's going to be beyond anything we currently imagine and can conceive of.
Yeah. And that's where I am most of the time. It's really interesting because that's where I stay with it most of the time. When I talk to people, I'm like, oh, yeah. This is going to be
don't ask me what it looks like.
And then the other part of me, you know, when I'm sitting here thinking on, this is really such a beautiful exercise. Oh, now I'm like reverberating and I can hear myself.
Well, you know, this is the first time that I can recall in recent history that things like the actions of the Pope recently, for instance. Never before have we had someone, and people are asking questions like, "What has he lost his mind? Is he cutting off his own foot?" Despite his, you know, the edicts that are coming out from there are completely in line with what humanity needs. And it seems as though that a lot of these people that we've heard about in the past, you know, the light workers that are working in high positions in high places on the inside of the system, are beginning to show forth. You know, it's not just the bad guys who are beginning to expose themselves, but the good guys as well. These whistleblowers like Snowden and Manning, and they're coming out of the woodwork in every field and every department. So a lot of things are being maneuvered from the inside and from the outside. So
I keep saying, like, the light gets brighter, the dark gets darker, and then eventually you're going to have to pop apart. Or is it apart or is it meld? Which is it?
We lost you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can hear her.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Sorry, maybe it's just on my side.
Sorry. No, to me it's like I see the light getting brighter and more intense and amazing, and I see the dark at the same time getting darker and more intense. And so, you know, and to me it's like I can almost see this popping apart. It's like this alpha omega point, this splitting. But is there a splitting or is there a melding? How do you see that?
Do you see it like the sort of Dolores Cannon kind of split?
You know, I see it like I saw it like 13 years ago when I saw this huge spiral where, you know, like 10,000 years, there was only like two things that happened the whole 10,000 years. Now we're down, the spiral is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and now it's like two things happen in less than a millisecond. And, you know, 100 billion things happen within a minute kind of thing. And here we are in the very center of this alpha omega point of this popping out to the other side. That's how I've always seen it, and I still do resonate with that.
Oh, that's perfectly in alignment with all of the prophecies and all of the work that's been done by, you know, Terence McKenna and, you know, a whole host of others. They talk about that 0 point or that apex or the, you know, that we just burst through. And I agree with you. It feels like we are right there at the peak at the moment. It's so tight in one way. And there's been a lot of talk about this Lionsgate energy that we're in right now that started
on the 8th.
Did it start on the 26th of July?
I thought it was the
day I was arrested.
Say that again, Kiri?
Yeah.
The same day I was arrested, the 27th.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
And it ends around now. And perhaps that I did hear one comment that it coincides with the photon belt finally reaching us. And Bob had a little moment before with this whole Lionsgate thing, which is funny. And it's at the time when Sirius is closest to us, and Sirius is all about represents the Isis energy. And there's just all this stuff going on right now, and everybody seems to be feeling it. The number of people with a cold, like I've got, or some kind of flu symptom,
yeah.
I mean, it's like an epidemic right now. Everybody I speak to is feeling shaken up in some way, shape, or form.
It's showing outside. People are leaving relationships. They are leaving their houses, being pushed out of their houses. They're being pushed out of their jobs. They're, you know, if it's not internal, if it's not physical, it's external. It's something. Everybody that I see, you know, everybody that I'm aware of is going through a huge, huge shift right now. Yeah.
And we just feel like we're about to pop out the other side.
All right. Well, I just wanted to kind of pose that, and yeah, I was kind of like moving to, you know, old stuff here. So that's really interesting, and thank you for bringing my attention to that. And I'll let you get on to your other callers, but I just kind of wanted to pull that in because it kind of stuck with me, and I thought, okay, I need to voice this, you know, even if for other people that are out there thinking about, you know, all of this stuff that's going on here. How could this look? And, you know, it will look however you decide it's going to look. How deep are you going to go within yourself, or how far out of it yourself are you going to go? And I think that's what's going to matter, you know?
Well, Judy, do you want to stick around?
Sure, I'll stick around.
Okay.
Bring it.
You can be our Brian stand-in.
Okay, cool.
You're required to giggle at least 3 times every 30 seconds.
Oh, no. I do not giggle. You know that about me.
Oh, yes, you're well known for your seriousness. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay,
right,
we've got area code.
Bring him on.
I'll bring him out. Area code 408.
Hello.
Area code 4. Yes, that's you.
Wow. Nice to y'all. So I've been all weekend.
Who's this?
Oh, it's Jeff from California.
Jeff. Yeah, I know this voice.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure it do. Well, other than that, you sound like someone else who calls in.
So this is the first time calling. So I've been coming up with ideas all weekend. For basically, we don't need to reform the old system. We just need to interface to it into the new system. So where I work, I've been forming this idea of this email to maybe get me fired, but it's basically so the old banking system is around families, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Warbucks, but we're the people, the human family. All we have to do is trust each other, and then I was just today earlier. It was I was looking at the colonial how they did banking in colonial times when they had no money. And it was person to person sales. Everyone was independent and sovereign. It was all accounting and bookkeeping. And then a farmer may only balance his account once a year when he harvested. But that was fine. It got business done, and there was prosperity. So,
may I say it still feels like black to me?
Well, can I say something on this too?
Bouncing around my head so fast right now.
It depends how far you want to take this in terms of the energetics. Because what if, let's just throw some what ifs out there. What if it's all done energetically, and there is energetic accounting and bookkeeping, as we've talked about on a couple of occasions, and there are, in fact, energy regulators, the energetic bookkeepers, and it's just a process of setting an intent and a desire, one that is not selfish or harmful, because that'll energetically come back and kick you in the bum. But if it's a process of just setting your intent, your desires out there, and it's for the benefit of all, then and taking the law of attraction that we think we know and understand, and just putting it on steroids.
Because how can you account for somebody who is doing energy work from a place, sitting here and moving out energy to people? How can you account for older people who have very little energy left but are, still in need of that energy exchange?
Sorry.
That's what I wonder. How do you account for things that don't get accounted for in the way that systems work right now? People who are doing studying and working on things, and do you account for that? Right now, we pay. You have to pay to do that. So
but energetically, everything's accounted for.
There you go. Energetically, it works. Not the old system.
And
the
I
old
think
system
it always has
work.
Energetically, it's always been accounted for.
Right. It's just not been accounted for.
That energetic system has always been running in the background.
Right.
Always.
I agree with you.
We've overlaid it with something else, an interface that we don't need.
Right. I'm with you on that one. That's what I'm worried about. It's like people are going to go back to an old system that they think, oh my God, those were the good old days, but it did not account for the energetic system that is intrinsic within the human race, within the energy field of all that is, of people who do things that may not be right now worth, quote unquote, money, but they're worth an enormous amount of energetic exchange. I just had to throw that in. Sorry. I felt it was really important.
Okay, what else you got for us, Jeff?
So and it would basically include bookkeeping, accounting, but it's really it centers around basically contracts and tracking, trust, verification, basically trusting the person or entity you're doing some kind of transaction with. And if the NSA can know who we are better than we, why can't we actually trust each other? It's pretty simple. But it's creating that structure, and then it's just let nature take its course. The old system will just deflate right away.
Mm. Well, this is I'm hearing this over and over again. If we build it, people will do. If the structure exists, if we build the arena for people to play in, I imagine we're going to have one hell of a game. So
I think we're going to need 2 arenas, Bob.
2 arenas. As many as it takes.
I see really is the interface to the old system, and I think I have a solution for that. It's I work at PayPal basically.
Yeah.
So if we had basically just if an interface through PayPal, through your phone, through a web page that goes into this new system, but it still has an interface to the old, you can still buy stuff and allow people to transition over, it would be seamless. Could be seamless. But you really have to get away from using Federal Reserve notes or any kind of someone else's currency where they take a cut.
Well, PayPal is a really, really, really good example of an online system that can interface with the old system quite easily if PayPal would play with us.
That's what I'm thinking. So I could, I know some people. I'm just a person. I don't have any special contacts, but I could send emails to people. I can definitely make some waves, I should say. Or get myself.
I would suggest you do that. The reason why I say that is because a while back when I first discovered the One People, and I heard about the value exchange and whatnot, I actually visualized that it was connected to the PayPal.
I had the same thought.
Yeah, and because the reason why I thought that they would use the IUV exchange would use the PayPal interface is because it's already set up, ready to go, and it automatically links to people's bank accounts directly. So, I mean, what PayPal are doing is perfect. It's the perfect system and interface to introduce to begin with, really. I mean, it doesn't have to be something that we can stick with, but I mean, just to put like you said, we need an arena for people to play in. So just to create a temporary arena for people to be able to start trading and exchanging their value, I think PayPal is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, and I still like the fact that the system would be infused with so much currency that it would take away the need for currency. The currency would really truly then become the energy between people. But as training wheels, I do believe that it is necessary to have a short period of time with something that looks like currency, just to get us to move from one stage to the other.
I could say organically working with the eBay side for like a barter system, where you either trade for a credit, then you work in the system, or basically trade for a like item. But basically bring back barter with credit and basically get rid of all the dollars or the euros or the pounds. And then they have no claim to it because you aren't using their currency at all.
I don't know. I kind of like the $40 billion so that everybody has so much money that it becomes like, worthless, useless, and it really is just all about this energy exchange. And I get where it needs to, where maybe you need to use a banking system to say, okay, so I've got all of this here, and so this portion of it I'm going to put towards this thing right here. I'm going to exchange that part of it for this. But it's going to be so much that literally we won't need it anymore, because we'll start understanding through that exchange that it is you. It is you that has the value, whatever it is that you do. But you might have a value that looks different than, somebody else's. And that's where I think that's where the big, schism is going to need to be opened up, and people need to be re-educated as to what value truly means. I mean, that's the biggest thing is that,
there are certainly enough. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's certainly enough talk out there that suggests that on the other side of this birthing canal that we seem to be going through, every conversation we're having right now will be completely irrelevant, because we won't need any form of representation to do, because the innate internal technology that the human body is capable of, its true potential, will come online. I'm not going to need money to buy a plane ticket to go anywhere, because I will just get myself there. I'm not going to need money to buy food, because food will be completely optional, and if I want to eat something, I can just manifest it. If you can do those two things, if you can get from point A to point B, and you can nourish your body without the need for any kind of representation, I think those two things alone make everything we've said up to this point irrelevant.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Am I being over simplistic or something? Or?
Well, no, but how I see that happening is through the training wheels process of being so freed that everybody gets to start creating through love. And when everything starts being created through the energy of love, everything starts vibrating at that higher level. And when that happens, we get exponentially pushed out into this place where we do then finally find out that we actually are the technology ourselves.
Well, you know that story about how the South Americans, when the English came, or was it the English or the Spanish, whoever came, Spanish, that they didn't see the boats because they had no concept of them. And it wasn't until the sort of medicine man or the chief, who had a feeling that there was something out there, and he focused his intent on it to see what was out there, that he eventually saw the ship. And then so did everybody else, because he told them there's something out there, and he explained it, and he described it, and suddenly they got it. It's that whole idea that all we need to do is see an example of what's possible. And it opens up. It shatters all of those old paradigms, the old illusions, the old limitations, and we see what's possible. And it triggers something within us to come online. So look at what, even in a really basic way, look at what seeing Bob get up and walk did for people. Did
a lot for me.
It did a hell of a lot for you, but it did also, don't underestimate what it did for others.
It did a lot for me, and I can walk, so I was blown away by that, Bob.
About what's possible. You
amazing.
You managed to inject people with an awe of what's possible.
Yeah.
And it's only going to take one. As Heather keeps saying, it only takes one. And the domino effect of that. Once we start to see what's possible.
I like that. I like that so much better. I don't like process. I don't like having to go through all kinds of processes to get to something. So if it just takes one, I am so on board. I love it.
I like that idea too.
It makes perfect sense.
I mean, look at what, say, even Michael and Peter, the Energy Master dudes, someone goes online, sees sees a photo or a video of those two doing some amazing manifesting, decide to sign up for their course, and I've heard this story several times, someone with no experience who decides to sign up for their course, and before they even get there to do the course, to do part one, they're already starting to manifest stuff or change things. Because
I did it myself.
Yes, because they've had their mind open to what's possible. They've seen it demonstrated. They've set their intent on that path to get to that point. So that's already flowing. And before they even get there, they're at starting. I've experienced that with myself as well in other areas.
Yeah, no, I actually watched one of their videos, and I looked up and I played with the whole cloud thing. I watched, I think it was Michael talking about dissipating clouds. After I watched the video, I sat here, and that afternoon I looked up, and I went through 5, 6, 7 clouds, and I literally dissipated every cloud in front of me by what he did, what he told me to do. As time went on, I kind of lost the energy of it, but I did it. I did it, every single one of them, and it was real. It happened.
And had someone said to you the day before, just go and dissipate that cloud, what would you have done? What would your reaction have been?
Oh, I don't know how the hell to do that. Are you kidding? That's not, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just want to thank you all for your being and doing. It's an amazing show. Amazing time.
Mm-hmm. It is an amazing time, that's for sure. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
No.
Okay, thanks for calling in, Jeff. We'll move on because we've got a few more people with their hand up. Thank you. Okay, area code 814.
Yeah. My name is Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hi. Yeah, well, I was just listening to your show, and the reason I was calling is I just heard Bob was saying, about the energy exchange, and he was mentioning, just to get the word out, what if, someone needs a refrigerator repaired and stuff? And I was thinking, well, ain't that incidental, because that's exactly what I'm doing. And I happen to live in the greater Philadelphia area, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I just happen to be doing appliance repair right now, and I'm in the greater Philadelphia area, so I was thinking, well, maybe there's something to that.
I must have been picking up on you, Craig.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot happening in my life, but I lost my. Well, I wouldn't say I lost my job, but it was kind of a mutual thing last year. I worked for an air conditioning refrigeration company for about 10 years in Elton, and it seemed to me like there was just too much slavery going on. I was putting all this energy in, and just getting very little money. And I was thinking, well, I was asked to perform and do all these miracles. And I was thinking, well, geez, if I could do that, what am I working for you then? I could just do it myself. So I quit, and lo and behold, you can do it yourself. You put that energy into your own thing. Why are you putting all that energy to make somebody else, some businessman, rich? You can put that energy into your own self, and make it happen for yourself instead of for someone else.
So are you open to doing exchanges with people?
Oh yeah. I figure that the only way that I get my work is the energy that I put into it. How do I find people that need to work? How do you make that connection? It has to be my own energy that causes that, because I sure don't spend a lot of money I spend zero amount of money in advertisement. It's all word of mouth. So I figured, there's something to do that,
So you're paying energy into you is the way we say it.
Well,
you're paying energy into you, and that's what it's paying off.
Well, yeah, I'm paying energy into my own. Instead, I don't know if you've noticed how these businesses work, but I discovered the 10 years working for someone, I discovered that they were using me. They're using my energy to make them rich. For example, I would go to a call. All they want to do is they want to sell somebody a $10,000, $20,000 air conditioning system, and they want me to sell it. And if I don't, then there's something wrong with me. And I was thinking, well, for one thing, I think that's dishonest the way they're doing it. But even if I could do that, why produce that? And then they didn't want to pay me anything for it, you know? They wanted to pay me like some tiddly amount, like $50 or $100 or something for selling a $20,000 system. And I'm thinking, how? That is just insane, you know? If I could produce that much money, why am I doing it to them? You know, for one thing, I didn't want to do that anyway, because that's why I got out of it, because it seemed to me like that was immoral. They're just trying to, you know, sell people a bunch of stuff they don't need. They're not really trying to help people. And they're just getting greedy, and I want to get out of that anyway. So now I'm doing appliance repair, so lo and behold, that's what I do, is I repair appliances and refrigerators now, kind of freelance. But yeah,
it's the same in so many of those sort of service industries. I mean, the company hires you out for $70 an hour or $80 an hour, and they pay you $20 an hour or $30 an hour of that. Now, you can bypass that whole process.
Well,
exactly.
Well, if it would be one thing if they wanted me to repair stuff, and that's what I want to do. But they were trying to get me to sell stuff. It got to be a racket where these companies were wanting me to sell. I was no longer a technician. I was a salesman. They didn't care. They didn't want me to fix something. They wanted to sell a new $10,000, $20,000 system. And that's the way that the industry is going. They're all greedy. They're getting greedy. They discovered that they could, you know, sell people stuff they don't need, you know, or if it's over 10 years old and it's reached its life, there's no excuse you got to sell them a new one.
And they don't even make anything that works for very long anymore. I mean, it's that whole, what's it called? What's that word for it?
Obsolescence. It's the...
thank you.
The expected life of new cars, new appliances is 10 years. If it's over 10 years old, the industry wants you to buy a new one.
And good luck if it really works that long these days, because, you know, things have really kind of skyrocketed where they make it so that they don't last that long anymore. But you pay twice as much as you did 3 or 4 years ago, you know, and the amount of money that these people make that are the manufacturers are huge amounts of money, so they want you to continue to do that. And that's, you know, I just saw a video earlier today about the New York police and how they make these people who become policemen go out and they make them make stops where they literally go and have to make like 100 and some odd stops per week for people just walking around on the street. These guys don't want to do this. They don't want to do it, but they have to, or they're going to get fired, or they're going to get put in very dangerous positions. And, you know, it's just a really messed up system all the way around.
That's what's going on with the businessmen. There's a racket going on, and my boss is thinking, you know, we're going through economic hard times. Well, now you better be glad for your job, and now you better sell. And they're putting on so much stress and so much pressure to sell people stuff. You know, and, you know, I just...
The argument for all of it is to keep the economy running. We need to keep spending in order to continue the economy running. And that's why there's planned obsolescence. That's why you're supposed to replace everything every 3 years.
But what Craig is saying is really interesting. If everybody continued doing whatever it is that they do, quote-unquote, for a living right now, but they just did it privately, quit their corporations, immediately the system would collapse.
Yes.
You know, it will for me, because people aren't going to have to go buy new machines because I'm going to fix it for cheap. I'm not interested. I have no overhead. I'm not interested in making this big amount. I'm interested if I can make $50 fixing stuff. I'm happy. You know,
that's because you work through integrity. You work through integrity, and they don't. And that's what's going on right now. This darkness that is getting darker. There's no integrity within it. And the people who are coming from that system and saying, I have integrity, I cannot do that. They're pulling themselves back into the place of integrity and creating from that space, and that is what's creating this incredible change.
Well, you know, in all fairness,
no, sorry,
in all fairness, I was just going to say that in all fairness, these people get trapped in their lifestyles where they have to make this money.
Well, I know.
So they're trapped into it. But if they could get out of that, I mean, just for example, I'm also into permaculture and other things, and, you know, I'm into this Native American way of looking at things about growing your own food. So I eat 90% of my own food. I eat I grow 90% of the food that I eat out of my own yard. I grow so many vegetables and herbs and things, and I can, I spend very little money on food. And it's so nourishing that I don't even have to eat a lot, and I'm not even, if I can take some squash and cook it up in oil and put, fresh herbs from my garden in it, and spices and chilies and tomatoes and whatever, mix it in it, I get full with that. I don't need to eat. I eat little beans and rice or whatever, and that, believe it or not, I don't even need to eat meat, so I don't have to make that much money. I don't need to make the money that they do because my lifestyle is different. So I guess, I just decided to be and do. I've been listening to you guys, and I'm being and doing. But I heard Bob say that about that, and I thought, well, ain't that something? I'm in the greater Philadelphia area, and I fix refrigerators. So, yeah, I'm for that, If people want to exchange value, I'll do that. It seems like I'm doing it anyway because I create my own value. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't be and do. Believe me, I'm the one making it happen. It's no one else, and that's the value. You know what I mean? So,
well, there you go, Craig. Anybody who needs an appliance fixed in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, give Craig a call.
Right. I do Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. In fact, I just spent the day working in Pennsylvania. I do Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania.
I'm in Maryland. I will definitely put the word out for you.
Well,
how far?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're up there by. I know where you're at. You're up in the northern part. I used to live up there too. My dad used to work for the government, so I used to work in. I used to live up there in Prince George's County. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm close to Fred, and so that's actually sort of kind of about the same distance. But yeah, awesome area, amazing, wonderful, awakened people. Seriously, you drive all the way down here to do that?
Well, I live in Maryland. I live in Chesapeake City, Maryland, which is right along the Delaware border. I'm considered the great. I'm like 40, 50 miles from Philadelphia, so I'm considered the greater Philadelphia area. But I end up working in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. So yeah. I maybe not go all the way as far as where you are, but I'll go 50 miles.
That wouldn't do. With gas prices the way they are, it wouldn't work so well.
No, I wouldn't want to drive too far, but
wouldn't it be wonderful when gas prices aren't the way they are to be able to, to truly go anywhere you want to go to help anybody that needs your help? And there's everybody for everything. Once they are released from what they have to do, they get put into what they actually love, and that's when things start really rolling beautifully.
Oh, absolutely. I was listening to what Linda was saying about transporting yourself or us being the greater technology, and it's really hard to believe that, but for some reason I have been thinking that, and of course. I don't know if I can. It's really hard to believe, but I can sure feel it and fantasize about it. That's the ultimate way to travel.
I think a whole bunch of us are. So hey, let's keep it going.
Well, the information that's coming out continually at the moment about DNA and what DNA is and how it really looks and how it operates and what its potentials are. I mean, it's got to make you wonder whether or not. And, Thomas Hughes, who comes on our shows regularly, he talks about the Sasquatch and how they have that internal tech turned on. Right. And that's why they can be seen and then not seen, and they appear and disappear, and they're here and then they're there. And I know...
I actually heard that what I heard about them and us is that they are the natural evolution of the human species, and we are, I don't know if this is true or not, but it sure sounded good, and that we are the technological version of the species. We're the ones who were genetically modified, and that the Sasquatch were the natural evolution of the species. And so they can do without all of the barriers that we've been taught along the way.
I just watched a documentary on that, and the current thinking is a lot of the archaeological record where they find all of these hominoids, Epithecus and Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal man, that they weren't really humans, they were humanoids. They were Sasquatch. And all of these bones that existed throughout time that we're finding are still with us today. They're walking around as Yowies and Yetis and Sasquatches and skunk apes, and they account for everything that we find in the archaeological record, what we're calling hominoids.
Right, and they're able to move in and out of dimensional reality because they haven't been genetically modified to be dumbed down like we have been. Is that true? Does that sound right?
Well, I know that I've heard plenty of stories from Indigenous here in this country who talk about elders that they know, that they've had amazing experiences with, that, you know, when you're out in the desert, as I'm sure everybody's had some sort of experience with, like, where you can see the horizon in every direction and there's nobody in sight, and you're expecting to have a meeting with someone in 20 minutes and you can see that there's nobody coming, and then suddenly you turn around and they're 50 feet away and they're on time. No vehicle, they're just on foot. I've had so many stories like that. I've heard stories of what do you call it when somebody, oh my God, I've just gone blank. People becoming kangaroos.
Oh.
No, I know that sounds weird. Shape-shifting. That's the word I was looking for. Shape-shifting into kangaroos. And I've heard that story directly from somebody who witnessed it and who was starting to go through the process themselves and then freaked out and brought it back. So, you know, you don't have to look too far into these Indigenous stories. And I know that, you know, the American Indians still have stories like this, and they talk about people who can still do it to this day. It happens here. It happens in a lot of Indigenous cultures. So we really don't know what we're capable of.
But we're getting ready.
I don't think we can. Yeah, I think we are getting very ready. Yep. And we've only got 9 minutes left, but we've still got about 4 people with their hand up, which I know we're not going to get to. But thank you so much, Craig.
Oh, you're welcome. And nice talking to you.
You too.
Yes,
you too.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay, we'll take one more, and then I'll make some little announcements. Area code 626.
Hi, Lisa. This is Mark Sandoval.
Another Mark. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Been a long show. You guys covered a lot of ground. My question here tonight is, and I don't mean to throw a wrench or open a can of worms.
Oh, go ahead.
And I know. Well, I've been going over some of the conversations, the initial conversation with Brian and Heather. Mm-hmm. And I remember Heather speaking about the gold, the English gold, and how it was replaced with tungsten steel, gold place, with a little note left on it. And I also remember somebody had put out a video where it showed the Queen actually going to the finance minister and asking him what happened to all the gold. And he didn't know. And, you know, when I go over the UCC filings, and Heather had placed X amount for everybody within the filings, and along with the paradigm report. And we've been sitting back waiting for the documents to come out so that we can approach the banks. And I applaud Kiri. I just love her to death, and Bob for what he's done, and his uncle in approaching the banks. And, you know, and I'm really chomping at the bit to go and start my own process along with the banks myself, because, you know, I'm dying here. I'm having it really hard. You know, I've exhausted all my resources helping other people, and, you know, I've got a couple beautiful little girls that depend on me to support them. You know, we have to pay our bills, and I need money to do these things. I have a job, so I'm not complaining. I'm not asking for anything. But what I am saying is, you know, we've been waiting for an awful long time here, and I understand, you know, Heather doesn't work on timelines, and she's working off of event-driven events that are going to trigger her presenting their documents to us, so that we can go in and access our value, along with Project 13, and hoping that that would be the actual hub or the catalyst to making an easier transition for us to access our value and transfer funds. I'm kind of getting that, or hoping for that, I guess, if you will. My biggest concern is, as I called before regarding the elderly. That's my heart. That's what I want to help out. But it's not just them. That's just the beginning. I understand the concepts that we've been discussing tonight regarding a new financial and monetary system, an exchange. I got all that, but it doesn't pay to put gas in their tanks, and it doesn't pay the bills, and we still have to pay for electricity and whatnot. My heart is out for the elderly and a lot of people that I know on down the line from that, because I've seen one pension plan and 401k and stocks being, destroyed and scattered out of people's pockets and people suffering. And, I'm really looking for redemption, and I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking for a way to go to people and ease their pain, and what has been taken from them, not from anything that they've done wrong. I really want to get going myself on some of these things. I have a complete outline of what I intend to do, and I just can't do it right now because I'm waiting for these documents. I'm waiting to impact my family, my community, my city, my state, and on from there. Do we have
I don't think you're waiting at all, darling. You are impacting already. You have been impacting for some time. You can feel that. You can hear that in what you're doing. I see. I know what you're saying, that you have bigger plans. And if you feel the need to do it now, just grab a copy of what Bob did if you want to. It's available.
I've already done it. I've printed everything out.
Okay,
I have a complete file set up with just about everything. I'm wondering why. I mean, I understand. I listened to Bob and Kiri's testimonies on their actions, and I hear Bob's explanation and the recording he had with the bank manager, and I really do appreciate it. It's so much information, Bob. Love you for it. Thank you. But it's really at this point, and I don't want to sound too pessimistic in this, but it's not getting anywhere. It's not. I understand Bob's concept. We are getting a reaction, and that's great. But it seems like there's a missing link. There's a piece missing to this whole thing. I'm all for a new monetary system. I'm all for an exchange system. But everybody's got to be on board with that, and that would only be, it's a limited exchange system, even if we were to put it online, because it's only going to be good for what we are willing to trade, and it doesn't do anything for making lives better, helping people take care of their needs, and
what, Mark, I agree with you that there's a piece missing. There is. There's a penny that needs to drop with all of us.
Yeah.
It hasn't dropped for me yet, and it's like I was trying to describe with Judy before. I can feel it energetically. I've got some kind of subconscious understanding of it, but when I try to bring it into my conscious, I lose it. And I can't put it into words, and I can't get a visual on it. And the penny does need to drop, and that's what I'm wondering. What we're on the brink of is this penny dropping for all of us.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Does that had it, Bob? Do you want to? We've got like 60 seconds left.
Yeah, 60 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
I agree, Mark, with exactly what you're saying, but I do believe that the process that you're going through right now where you understand and you know and you're just waiting to do, you're in the position for whatever, when that penny drops, you're in the position and you've placed yourself in the position in order to do. Let that be your intention, and I don't think that you're going to be left stranded or anything. You know, it may seem that, you know, times are difficult, but I know for a fact that when you step up and you present yourself, the universe won't let you down. So don't despair. Don't cultivate that energy of waiting. If you want to do, go ahead and do. You can. But I think
I do all I can, Bob. Trust me. Don't get me wrong. I put it all out there. I don't hold nothing back. I've done it to the point where I've literally exhausted myself and all my resources.
Guys, we're about to lose everybody. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening, and thank you for everybody in the chat room. We will be back tomorrow with the collective imagination. Hopefully we'll see you all then. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Guys, we can go into the recording to finish this conversation.
Okay.
But we just lost the live audience, that's all.
Okay.
I'm on phone right.
I'd love to hear from you on that.
Mark?
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
This is one thing that I would suggest for you. Number one, you do not have to do this alone. I get the feeling from you as though that you are this lone warrior. You don't like others doing for you, and
right.
You've taken on a lot of responsibility for yourself, but there are those who are around you who are more than willing and able to help. But a lot of people, when you put on, this is what I've discovered. When you put on the air that I'm in control and I'm going to take care of everything and I don't need any help, people are reluctant to offer it.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed to hear that.
And, you know...
No, I hope I'm not doing that, Bob, because I'm not afraid of asking for help, and that's not my my position here. I guess
you're ready to go, and you're chomping at the bit, and there's a bit of frustration that you can't do what you know is possible.
Well,
I think everybody on the platform is like that right now.
Yeah, and pressure's on. Pressure's on all around, and I want to just, I want to do more. I want to be able to do more, and I just feel I'm more, Heather puts out, do, go, and I want to so bad, but I don't have the resources to do what.
Can I give you an example? I'll use me as an example. I have no resources. I've been doing what I'm doing with radio shows and interviews and, blogs and what have you for, 4 years, 5 years, something, I don't know. And
yeah, I searched you up.
I
love you. I've seen a lot of it. Yeah.
And I did it. It came about really, really quickly as a result of me getting to a point of absolute frustration and despair, of feeling like I wasn't doing what I came here to do. And I had no idea what that was. But I got to that really low point. I got it to a really low point, and I just went, I'm here to be of service. Just use me to do what I came here to do. I'm here. I'm ready. And within a month, I was doing interviews. It just happened. I couldn't even tell you how it happened. It just happened.
And on my level, the exact same thing happened to me. Exactly the same way.
I hate to say ditto.
Yeah. And it's been a really hard road because I always wanted to just give. I never wanted to make it. I had so many approaches from people to tell me how they could help me monetize it all and make my website a membership thing or do, all sorts of stuff. The only thing I conceded to do was having one Google ad on my website. That was it. And because it felt like it needed this, I didn't want this information that I was lucky enough to be able to get, and the opportunities I felt that I was very lucky to have with talking to certain people, to be exclusive. I didn't want it to be just available to people who could afford it. It had to be available for all of us, because this is what it was all about. And so in return, what I've received over the last 4 or 5 years is lots of gratitude, lots of love, an amazing community that's built up around, especially around the whole 5D media thing. But none of that pays bills. None of that puts food on the table. None of that does anything tangible. It just makes me feel amazing, you know, and like I'm part of something so much bigger than myself, which is beautiful. Yes. But when I look at the last few months, when I look at the last 6 months, my ability to manifest has just exploded. I went and spent a month in Morocco, and it didn't cost me anything because I had nothing to spend on it. I'm now on a 10-day, potentially 10-day road trip with 2 amazing women so that I can do more energy work. And again, it's not costing me anything because I don't have anything to spend on it. It's just the work needed to be done, and for whatever reason, the resources have come through other people for me to do it. Now, I mean, and it hasn't even come because I got an influx of, I mean, what I get for what I do in financial terms is about $40 a month in donations. Now, that barely covers the actual blog talk, cost of blog talk. But when I need to be somewhere or I need to get something done, it happens. And I just think we need to pay more attention into what we are trying to achieve for the greater good of all. And when we really genuinely have that intent, and I know you do, but I don't think about how I'm going to pay for it. Money just doesn't come into it.
Yeah, that was the key for me as well. As soon
as
I took money,
I lived my life. Go ahead.
As soon as I took money out of the equation, and I stopped thinking about it, and I just put my intention out there, then things started to happen. You know, you want to work with elderly people, and you've just put your intention out there.
It's not just them. It just starts with that, and I already do. I mean, you know, but I just want to give them more than a hug and a loaf of bread. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what.
Well, you have children. You have children, so that puts more of an onus on you. I can actually throw my little bag into the same with Lisa and Bob because that's exactly how I live. I literally own almost nothing at all. I have an old decrepit car. I've given up everything else, and everything just falls into place for me. Because I know that once I give up the old system, the new system that I truly want is coming in to support me. And I know that's how it works.
I guess what we're trying to tell you, Mark, is you are on the right path because we've all been exactly where you are, feeling the exact same feelings. And today, by just coming out on the air...
you know what's helped with the anxiety for me? Is absolute faith in the absolute plan. Yeah. Even when things don't look like they're going right, even when things don't look like they're headed in the right direction, or that should have been the way it was supposed to go, if I take that step back and go, but this is the absolute plan. This is the absolute plan. When I really believe that, I see how usually really, really quickly that turned out to be in the benefit of all. And it is an extraordinary place to go to because it requires a great deal of faith initially. But with practice...
But see, the faith is driven by a feeling that we all know and we know is happening. We can feel it from within. That's the energy busting within ourselves. There's a letting go that has to take. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've had the visions, the dreams, amazing dreams, amazing visions where I wake up and I just remember it vividly. And most recently, I might add, I have been visiting you and Heather and Bob and Brian. Well, Brian's down the street from me. I've gone to do his Reiki with him, and I can't wait to get back on his table again. He is just amazing with that. And I mean, I can't wait to get physically in front of Bob because Brian says Bob's got the best hugs in the world, and I got to challenge him on that because I don't think so. Sorry, Bob. You got a contender here.
She
said you were the best hugger in the world. And I said, I don't think so. Yeah, I got a challenge for you on that one. And I can't wait to give that to you. But I've been there with you guys just recently in my dreams. I mean, it's like crazy. Okay, so there's, I've got my motivation, I've got energy, and I can feel the change within me, and I got all this stuff going. I've been researching this, but I've been going on this for over 3 years now. Coming up with the 12-21 last year, my biggest fear going into that was that nothing was going to happen and everything was going to be the same. And then Heather came in on the 25th and just blew us all away, captivated us. Okay, just changed the whole landscape of everything that was being taught and anticipated. And it was that 3 days of darkness that they talked about was there was a stillness from the 21st to the 24th. There was just a quietness around me. I could just feel there was like quiet. And it was like that anticipation of what's going to happen next. And it was just like that sudden, it's like if you've ever been in a car accident, that moment right before it happens, there's a stillness. And that's what I was feeling. That's what was going on. And then, boom, here comes Heather. And then, boom, on January the 9th or whatever it was, the 10th, when Brian did the interview with her. And I was like, wow. And ever since then, we've all been growing. This community has been growing. And I'm so blessed to be a part of you guys. And I've been there every single step of the way, all the way. I'm not going anywhere. I guess you caught me in a low point right now. And I've been a little low, and the reason why, and which is why I'm not calling in, which is why I'm not, I made a commitment to Brian. I need to step out. You people need to know me. You need to get to know me. And I have been depriving you of me because my heart is big.
I love you already.
and because you guys are so much like me, and I'm so much like you, and we are all one. And I get that. As
you said that on my little video thing, the minute you said that, the one people came up. The visual of one people came right up in front of me as you said that.
And I don't want a revolution. We don't need another revolution.
No.
I don't want to take down the system. I want to repurpose the system.
It's an involution. This is an involution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And an incension, as Kelly said the other day, last week.
Yes. I mean, those people just they just don't know. They don't know, and they don't know, and maybe it's their part in this whole grand scheme of everything. The way things have been coming out, the information that's been coming out. And
with
there's nothing but love from me to everyone. All of them. All those that have oppressed and conflicted me and my family and my friends and the people that I know and the hundreds of thousands of people that have been infected by the system. It just goes on and on. And I don't want to get caught up in all that.
They're just in the feeling who they are, but they're all divine beings. Just like you and I and Lisa and Bob and all of us.
Exactly.
They're divine beings just in more of a forgetting of who they are than we are at this point. That's all it is.
Yeah.
When a baby's being born, Mark, the baby works just as hard, if not harder, to come into the world than the mother does to support it. And all of those muscles in a woman's abdomen and around the womb contract and give the baby something to push against. It uses its legs and it pushes against those tight muscles to push itself out. And that's kind of what I see, what we call our partners in contrast or whatever. They are. That's the role they're playing. They are tensing up and they are squeezing on us and they are giving us something to push against, to burst ourselves out. It's a gift.
That is a phenomenal analogy. Phenomenal. I love that. Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Phenomenal.
No, it's
that visual when you were talking. It's like I can feel that. It's squeezing us out.
We're in the birth canal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we are feeling very, very put upon if we choose to see it that way, or we can choose to see it as, okay, so this is helpful. Okay, now here I go. Let's use this. Let's use this to push out. Or we can say, oh my God, I'm a victim. Oh my God, this is strangling me. And you're seeing both sides of it, and every little nuance of possibility of how it can be seen from everybody around you. But it's about you, because you are the being that is being birthed through this canal. This is this is phenomenal. We've been waiting for this for eons. We've been birthed and birthed and birthed and died and died and died, quote unquote died. Birth and birth and birth to me. And here we are. At the culmination, we're bringing eons of our own being through this birth canal. How do you choose to see it?
Right. I got you. Yeah. Yes. That's true. And I've not at one moment have I ever put myself in a victim mentality, because that's just not my nature. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor, and I'm not out to feel sorry for myself. I'm out to make a change. I'm out to make a difference. I'm a solutions guy. I'm not one to dwell on the problem or to chew on the rhetoric. I'm just not. That's not me. That's not me.
Don't get too hard on yourself either for going through a low point, because that's part of this process too. I've gone through them, and I'm seeing a lot of other people going through them. These highs and lows, but it's just part of the purging, I think.
Does it make sense that it is the contractions?
Oh, kidding me? We're in the ninth. We're coming up on the 9th month, people. Hello, and they've been talking about this.
I have a feeling it was like getting into the screaming part. Mama's getting ready to go. Oh!
I don't know. There's something about this September 21st or September 1st thing I don't get. I can't put my finger on it myself. I don't know. With the Pope putting out what he put out and all these resignations and stuff, is like, it seems like we're coming up on this, inching our way up more and more, and it's coming from both sides in all angles.
Put out a second one.
Yes,
but it's only available in Italian with a really bad Google translation. So if there's anybody listening who feels they can translate that thing properly from Italian to English, love to get a copy. Because at the moment there's just too many words in there that aren't being translated properly that can give it a whole different meaning.
Right, and he definitely has come out as being, there are things that he's putting out on one end that sound like really amazing, and other things that he's putting out on the other end that sound like a complete contradiction. And so it's really interesting. But then there are all these other things that are coming out too. So, somehow I sense very strongly that this doesn't have to do with anything outside of us. This has to do with something inside of us, as everything does. And so
everything does.
This is the point. Do we want it now? Collectively, individually, first of all, then collectively, because we become a collective. We are becoming a collective. The collective is the strength in who we are. The individuality is the weakness in what we have been taught to be. Now we are like all of a sudden coming together in a collective. You hear these collective voices coming in through channelers that you hear such, like Bashar and Seth and, Abraham. Yes. And, there's such a clarity, and they all tell the same story, really. They do. And here we are, and that's what I'm understanding is we are becoming a collective. And that is where our strength is.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons.
That's the beauty of it.
It's a higher dimension.
We're doing it in love.
Yeah, it's a higher vibrational collective. It's through love, you're right. It's through the heart spaces. Because the collective, we can see what the collective does otherwise. We've been pulled into the collective and been a slave to a collective that we didn't know we were part of, and now we are intentionally becoming a collective through the heart space, through love, through, service to all. And that means
that collective, that collective that we've been a part of without really knowing it, that's the hive mind. That is scary. That, to me, that's what that represents. If you're going to talk about it as a collective, then it's that very Borg-like hive mind where your individuality is actually crushed. You're supposed to conform to a certain standard and a certain prototype.
Yeah, it's a manipulated
that's
collective.
That hive mind. The collective we're talking about now that we're moving into is one that embraces individuality, supports individuality.
It's an intentional. This is an intentional collective. The other was a manipulated collective.
Right. Correct. Yep.
We've got 20 minutes over.
Okay, I can talk to you guys forever. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Suck it off. But I'm going to have to jump because I've got two girls chopping at the bit to go do some retail therapy.
I just saw 4404 right now, whatever that means. So love you. Have a wonderful time. Wonderful to speak to you. And thank you for letting me come in. I do speak too much. I do kind of talk a lot. So however that works for you, let me know.
It was perfect, Judy, as always.
Love you, girl.
Judy, you're awesome.
Love you, Bob. Wait, I'm sorry. Is it Craig that's on here now?
No, that's Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. Hi, Mark. I get confused. Anyway, love you all. It's late here, and I'm going to let you all go, but big kisses and hugs to all of you. To the collective intentional mind.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Judy. Thanks, Mark.
Yes.
It was a pleasure to hear from you again. It really was.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Bob, you take care of yourself.
You too, Mark.
Well. Okay, buddy.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye to everybody.
Yes, we'll see you tomorrow night.